We're here with Rowan, the writer and director of Wasteland, also known as Rise. Congratulations on the film. I really liked it. It was really good.
Thank you very much.
And it's already received great reviews. Are you quite pleased with how it's been received so far?
I'm exceptionally pleased with how it's been received. We premiered it at Toronto last year. We were lucky enough to get in, and it was, something of a dream come true, really. The way that it was received by both the critics and the audiences. After a very tough shoot, just a tough experience of putting it together, which was, ultimately exceptionally pleasurable. But you really, it's just really wonderful when all that work, when you actually put it out there, and it's you get such a positive reaction. It couldn't have been better.
And it's the first time you've been to the Toronto Film Festival?
Yes, it is.
Okay, it's a big festival to be premiered at.
It's the biggest festival, for a film like ours. Alongside, Cannes. It's, when our sales agents first told us that we got in there, and that's where we were going to be, first showing the film to the world, it was, kind of champagne time. Yeah. Or maybe, fizzy white wine, you go watch the credit card. But no, it's just an amazing place to, to launch the film.
Yeah. And without giving too much away, could you give our viewers a quick summary of what the film's about?
I could, yes. It's a heist film set in Northern England. When I say it's a heist film, ostensibly so. That doesn't mean that it isn't part of that genre. It absolutely is. But all films are about something else. And what this film, whereas it is that crime film, it does, follow the conventions of the heist film. What it's really about is the story of friendship and the story of redemption. Yeah.
And you worked with Gareth and Ed as producers on this film.
Mm-hmm.
How did you guys get together? Have you worked together before, or was this the first thing you've done?
Myself and Gareth have worked together for a long time. We had a creative agency which we co-owned together, where we made viral commercials, billboards, just creative work, in the commercial sector, at the same time as developing films. Ed came on board probably about a year before we actually got into the shoot of the film. We met him how you meet other filmmakers, we met him along the way while we were putting this one together. And, the three of us set forward to make the film together. Joining as another producer was also Mark Foligno, who works for Molly Films, and he formed the producing trio. And, we made the film together.
Okay. And when you were writing the film, did you try to aim it at a British audience, or were you going for more of an international audience?
Well, I think that, I think the genre, being a heist film, is very universal. Whether they're set in Las Vegas and it's Ocean's 11, whether they're set in the south of France in the 50s and it's Rififi, it's a universal genre. The themes of, friendship and redemption, again, they're universal. This has a very British sensibility to it. It's and when I say it's got a very British sensibility, I mean by comparison to a lot of British films. A lot of British films would be set in London, and that's kind of the recognisable England. Mm-hmm. Middle class London would be the recognisable England to audiences outside of England. Whereas this is set in working class Northern England, which is a section of society which would be more familiar to people within the country. At the same time, I wanted as many people from all over the world to see it, and hopefully we made something that can be engaged with. Just because you're not familiar, with a part of the world doesn't mean you can't be engaged by the story. And so hopefully they are. I absolutely want as many people to see it as possible.
There seems like there's a lack of opportunity, and the film also brings up problems for people coming out of prison. Those social issues in the film, was that quite important to you when you were writing it? Did you want to give across some form of message?
Not in a soapbox way. I didn't want to, the film's not a politicised, film, and it's not a message film. It's not, it's not making any kind of socio-political grand statement. The film's about entertainment first and foremost. It's the kind of film that can be enjoyed on Friday and Saturday night. At the same time, it doesn't shy away from certain issues. It's got a social conscience to it, but it's there if you want to see it. When what the film's about, it's about, these kind of disaffected, young men from this disaffected, area who just aren't offered these opportunities and who just want to find a way to get on. It's a heist film. They steal something, but what they actually steal in the film, not to give too much away, or what they attempt to steal in the film, should I say, is a small amount of money to enable them to take part in this business opportunity. They want a job, and they're finding a way to invest in this job, as opposed to just,
it's not ultimate greed.
That's it. It's not just greedy. They're not greedily taking a huge amount of money so they can escape and go and sit on a beach somewhere. This is about people who don't have an opportunity, just looking for an opportunity, and so those kinds of social messages are there. But if you want them to be there, they don't. It's not about soapbox politics. It's certainly not any soapbox of mine. And it's they're there if you want them, but you won't be beaten around the head with them.
Yeah.
And did you do anything particular to get the characters into their role, or did you leave them to it?
You know, they worked really hard to do. They worked really hard to to embody the characters. You know, they knew it's a character-driven film. You know, and the characters are so important. They should be so important to any film.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's a $200 million action film, whether it's a a small, contained drama. It's everything should come from the basis of the character, as far as I'm concerned. You know, like a great action sequence is a phenomenal thing for 5 minutes. If it involves characters that you either love, hate, empathise with, or are compelled by, then it becomes memorable cinema. And I think so I think the characters should always come first and foremost, and the actors knew that, and these are the kind of actors that embrace that anyway. And so they all went really out of the way to embody these characters. Jerry Kearns, who plays Charlie, his character is a welder, so he went on a welding course. His mother in the film is an alcoholic, and so he went to support groups for families who are victims of alcohol abuse within the home. The most important thing to me, though, was the expression of friendship, which is what's really central to the film. The most important thing was that their friendship came across, and so I just spoke to them about that. I said, just really, harness what it means to you to be friends with the people that you're friends with. That way that you can love someone while you hate them. That way that you can, fall back into an old pattern after not seeing them for a year. And they understood why that was important, and they just ran with it. And they became friends. The four of them just, worked really hard to form that bond. And it was really impressive to see. Really impressive to see that work ethic between them.
And you worked with your brother Neil throughout the film. Do you always get on quite well, or was there some family spats in the background?
It was brilliant, to be honest. I mean, firstly, he's one of the most talented people I've ever met. He's a successful songwriter, and he's composed lots before. I mean, in various different guises, whether it's like commercials, films, and all that kind of thing. So he's exceptionally talented. That's always there. But when you're so close with someone, then you can dispense with all the usual. Politeness. I can say, okay, well, for this moment, I want you to, be this, sound like this, do this, and he can turn around and say, are you out your fucking mind? I'm sorry about the swearing there, but he can just say it, and it be.
Honesty is refreshing.
Yeah, exactly, and he can do something I can say terrible, and he can say, yeah, you're right, absolutely terrible, and so it works.
When you were creating the characters, were they based on people that you know in real life, or yourself at all?
Officially, no, because I don't want any of them suing. There's a. I mean, yeah, I suppose you will always take a little bit of that. Not myself. I think that the lads in there. There's various character traits from people that I'm very close with, that I grew up with. But again, officially, no.
Yeah.
Did any of your past projects, like A Good Life, which was obviously a short, did that have any influence on your film now?
They haven't influenced it in terms of the structure. I mean, they have in a sense, the show like A Good Life or anything else that I've done. It's always I like things that are very story heavy yet character driven. Yeah. Whereas I don't think that those are disparate quantities. I think that they qualities. I think they can exist together. And so they're both on that. They both contain those things, but those elements. But in terms of just specific storyline, no. I think things should you don't want to make the same film 20 times, and well, some people do, but I don't necessarily. But what they do, as much experience as you can get, whether it's the first time you're ever going to walk on a set as a runner, making the tea and carrying the equipment, you will learn so much from the professionals around you, and then the first time that you either give yourself the opportunity or you're given the opportunity to direct, you'll learn so much more, not just about the practicalities of doing it, and not just about what's involved in that creatively, but just about doing it and being able to handle the pressure of doing it. Like when the film sets are beset by problems, 1,000 of them a minute, and it's about how you deal with those. And so the more that you do it, the more you can handle it when those things occur.
And you've been nominated for several awards and noted as one to watch for the future. Would you ever consider moving to America?
Working in America is you know, it certainly has its positives, but that's working in America. I don't really know about living there. I don't think that as a filmmaker, you know, you necessarily have to live in a place to work in a place. You know, if you're writing, you can really do that anyway. You don't need to live in London. You don't need to. You can live in Aberdeen. You know, you can be you know, you can be a writer. You know, when you make a film, then that's the, you know, the time when you're prepping it, when you're on set. Working in America, it's certainly got its, yeah, you know, there's huge bonuses, and I don't just mean, you know, a lot of those bonuses would be around, you know, financially speaking, but it's not just about the amount of money that will go into your bank account. You know, the size of the canvas that you can work with. I mean, you know, to a great extent, you at reverse engineering, when you're working with low budget films, you have a story you want to tell, and then you try and find a way to tell it with the smallest amount of money possible. Whereas, you know, you have to, you know, that actually can be a very good thing, because it breeds creativity and it encourages creativity. But at the same time, sometimes it's nice to work with that, you know, bigger canvas. You know, you can make films across other genres that you can't necessarily make with smaller amounts of money. There's, you know, but then there's a lot of negative, you know, a lot of negatives that come in with that. I mean, if you're making a $200 million film, you know, there's certain restrictions that you've got to face. But there are huge positives and huge, you know, negatives. But no, I would say more minor negatives. But you know, you just got to understand that. But I very much, you know,
British boy.
Yeah, I very much like living in England. Yeah. You know, my friends, family, girlfriend, everybody I hear. You know, so.
You must have met a lot of actors already, but has there anyone that you've come across you've been quite starstruck or amazed you'd ever get to meet them in real life?
No, I've never actually been starstruck. To a certain extent, I always felt that, you know, I'd be starstruck if I met Clint Eastwood.
Okay.
You know, so when I mean, just, you know, like kind of an iconic actor, you know, an icon of cinema, and someone who also manages to be a phenomenal director. I mean, sometimes it's frustrating when you think, right, okay, you had a startling career in one, you know, section of the industry, and then you keep winning Oscars as director, you know, exactly, and so I mean, just, you know, a phenomenally talented man, but you know, I haven't met Clint Eastwood, and you know, the other actors I've met, I haven't really been starstruck. There's a little bit of you that, you know, likes, you know, like phoning your mum and saying, guess who I, you know, or, you know, like texting your girlfriend, you know, just with a little picture or something like that, but no.
If you weren't in the film industry, is there anything else completely unconnected that you could see yourself doing? Or is this the only calling you think you have?
It's the only calling. I mean, you know, there's you know, sometimes, you know, when you're about 15 years old and you start thinking, you know, oh, wouldn't it be great to be, and then you mean, you know, whether it was like world championship boxer, or whether it's, you know, a successful footballer, and all these kind of things, but nothing that I actually, you know, would be anything more than what just plays through the mind of a 14-year-old when he's waiting for the school bus. Yeah. You know, nothing that would ever have been a reality. I mean, I, you know, first decided that this was something I wanted to do when I was probably 13, and understood more what it was by the time I was 15, and I've pursued it obsessively since. Mm-hmm. So I can't really think of anything else that I think that I'd be good at. No.
Difficult question, but do you have a favourite film, or at least top three, if you could pick them?
Oh, it changes all the time. Let me see. 12 Angry Men, Goodfellas, and Rocky.
Okay. You think there's maybe parts of those films in Wasteland?
Yeah, very much so. You know, I think that the most obvious that, you know, you might think of is Rafifi, and to a certain extent, you know, that did, you know, there was inspiration taken from that, but mostly it's Rocky. Okay. You know, Rocky's not a crime film. It's, you know, it's a sports film, but you know, when I say it's a sports film, it's not in the way that you would normally associate one. You know, it's not just, you know, like all action in the ring. It's not like that. It's a film that is about a character that you may have an opinion of the first moment that you see him, but then who, you know, like kind of grows in your perception throughout the film, to the point where, you know, by the time he, you know, gets into the boxing match, it's the most exciting thing in the world, because you are so compelled by this character. Yeah. And that's what I wanted to do with film. You know, I wanted to, you know, get to know these four guys who, you know, seemed like they were down on the log, you know, seemed like they, you know, that the world wasn't turning in the right direction for them. Build on, you know, who they were, you know, build them up for the audience, and then, you know, take them into the crime film and just, you know, really root for them in the same way. So I mean, Rocky very much was a huge inspiration, even if it doesn't seem obvious at first. Yeah.
Any future projects coming up you want to tell us about? I
can't really speak much about them, but yes, there is. myself, several other people involved in Wasteland will be shooting our next film at the beginning of next year.
Okay.
So very excited.
Well, can't wait to see whatever else you've got planned, and good luck with the film.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thanks.
I want you to tell me what you're doing, sat in front of me, bleeding and under arrest.
What do you know about Stephen Roper?
Guess that's that then.
Not quite. You haven't heard the interesting part yet.